As runners, we all challenge ourselves in ways we never thought possible, pushing the boundaries of what we're capable of to smash through targets and set ourselves new, bigger and better ones.
This awesome hobby that we share gives us one thing in common, and it brings us together as a community. Whether you're working towards completing your first parkrun or you're a veteran of the sport who's run 100 ultra marathons, we all know the feeling of reaching that maxed out effort and our own red line.
Welcome to our podcast, where your hosts Brett Elsmore and Andy Maguire discuss the struggles, the successes and everything in between on our running journeys, as we all work towards the next time we're running the red line. Right, okay, so welcome to episode 3. It is Friday night and we are back here for another episode of Running the Red Line. I am Brett, and with me as always is Andy. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right. Yeah, good to see you on a Friday night, albeit virtually. But
Yes.
Feeling good.
Good. Any exciting things happening this week or happened this week?
Not really. Running wise, it's been quite a good week. I did. I've had to like chop and change a couple of days because for some reason I don't know why I committed to this, but when I wrote my training plan, I wanted to give myself 2 days off a week, and I wanted to give myself Tuesdays and Fridays off. I don't know why those days. That's just what I decided on. But sometimes I look at the weather forecast or I look at whatever's happening in life that week, and I just chop and change things. So yeah, I wasn't supposed to run today, but I did, and yeah, went for a hilly run today, which was really good. In fact, it was one of those days where I looked at my Strava, and I got loads of little medals and loads of achievements. So I think I must have run it faster than I ever have before. So that went well. That was good.
Yeah, I saw you were trying to break your ankle today, weren't you?
Oh yeah, running fast down hills and stuff. Yeah, I did.
Oh no, over the rocky bit to the top of the hill as well.
Oh yeah. Of course, that's just part of the course with my Malvern Hills running. But
you're pretending to be a fell runner.
Yeah, I don't know how those guys do it. I've tried it. I've tried it when like Daisy pulls me. I've tried it on my own, and I still don't know how people can run fearlessly, full pelt down a rocky, craggy hill. I struggle on the road, let alone on that surface. It is mental how fast. I mean, I'd love to be in Chamonix one day. Have you ever seen those like Tour de France style things when they run through the tunnels of people in the UTMB and stuff? And I'd love to like actually see how fast these elite trail runners go. I think it would blow my mind. In fact, at the running show, which I think we're going to chat about in a bit, I was chatting to someone on the Koros stand called Ricky Wynn, and it was a very humble fella, and he ended up sort of saying, "Oh, by the way, I'm like basically he's not a professional athlete, but he's a sponsored athlete. I think he's sponsored by Koros and maybe even Hoka as well." And he said he did an ultra in Ireland last week or the week before the show, and his average pace is like faster than my like half marathon pace across about 80k across 50 miles. And I was like, and it was like, 10,000 feet of elevation or something stupid like that. So yeah, absolutely maximum respect for any fell runners out there and
big time. I don't know how they do it as well. It's bad enough with cross country. Before I did cross country, I had like glass ankles. The first time I tried a trail race, I tore all the ligaments in my ankle. So it's been a slow one to get up to the point where I can run at a decent pace across country. But man, no way on the hills and all those rocks.
Was that the fall that shaped your marathon, your first marathon adventure? Was it your first marathon or one of your comeback marathons?
Oh,
you had that fall.
Yeah. So that was after I'd done London for the 5th time. I decided to enter a trail race, and that was the my first ever trail race, and it was my last for a while. It took quite a bit of courage to get back out onto those off-road runs, but I quite enjoy it now. I quite enjoy a bit of cross country.
I was going to say, apart from cross country, how much trail running in percentage? Let's include cross country. How much? Let's just say road and off road. What's your percentage from road in a typical week? What's your percentage of like road to off road?
When it's not cross country season, I'd say 100% road,
Really?
0%. Yeah. It's not like there's no trail routes around me, but just the roads call out for me a bit more. I think I'd prefer to go and do a road route. I really should go and do some more trail running because they say it's really good for you. It builds up all the muscles in your feet.
Yeah.
Trying to do all those different adjustments whilst you're running off road. But I don't know.
I think I found that. I don't know if it's. I'm going to definitely put the kiss of death on this now and break my ankle and do all my ligaments. But I've found that from trail running, I'm talking like I'm blooming Ricky Wynn from the chorus stand here. But when I do my 5Ks around the Malverns, but I've found that the more that I've done it, the more I commit to doing it. Yeah, I think the stronger the subtle muscles that you never even consider using in your ankles and I guess in your body, really, your balance and everything, it develops over time, and you become. I guess you just become more accustomed to running on those kind of surfaces, don't you?
100%, 100%. I'm telling a bit of a fib because when it is summer and it's track season, because it's a bit drier, we tend to do all of our warm ups across the grass and through trail sections rather than warm ups on road before we go and do the track session. So I probably do a bit more than I think. I just don't register it as much because I'm in the focus of this is track and road season or this is cross country season. So yeah.
Well, I did I was going to say, like my other bits of training I've done this week. I've done I've been keeping a little journal actually because I tried to do this for Manchester last year, but after week 2 I just couldn't be bothered writing in it, and then I couldn't be asked to catch up with it. But I've managed to stay consistent, and I've been writing notes and stuff for every session. So one of my runs I did on Wednesday that I was proud of was an over and under session. So I still don't really know if I'm doing it right. I don't think any of us really do. But what I decided to do was a 12K. So what's that? 9 mile, 8 mile, is it? Something like that. And I decided to go out
12K, 7 mile.
7 miles. So I decided to go out at 10 minutes easy. So what's that? Just over a mile maybe. And then I went into a over and under marathon pace because I still haven't actually done much work in week 3 at marathon pace. So what I thought I'd do is go over and under it. So I was trying to I used my watch to try and pace myself, and I was trying to aim for approximately 15 seconds over and 15 seconds under, and I was doing reps of 800 meters, and I did 800 of over and under times 5, so 10 reps, and I worked it out that is exactly 5 miles, and my average pace for the reps came out at 5 minutes per K, which is at almost 8 minutes per mile, which is exactly goal marathon pace. So I didn't even consider that I just done 5 mile subconsciously, well, not really, but when you average it out at marathon pace. So, and what's even more encouraging was that the 800 reps at the over pace felt really quite good.
Nice. That's
so that
good.
was heading towards my half marathon pace, really. So yeah, I think that went really well. So that was apart from a progression session, that's one of my favourite ones to do, is an over and under one.
Yeah, nice. That seems like it went really well, actually. I still haven't actually done any proper sessions yet because I've been slowly getting back into it. But this week, I was actually quite pleased because I have been back running with B&R rather than being in the gym on the treadmill all the time. So that's been a real nice change. So on Tuesday, I couldn't face another long run or a big session in the gym. So just did the warm up with them, and then decided to stay with them at Arthur Street. And they were doing reps and like pushing the pace and things. But I thought I'm just gonna run some loops of Arthur Street and just try and do a bit of a tempo sort of run. And I ended up doing 4.25 mile at 6:50s was average, which I was quite pleased with, because that is just a little bit slower than target marathon pace. So that's nice to know that at this early stage, I have got a few miles at marathon pace in my legs. And then we did a steady session yesterday on Thursday. So we just did a warm up and then a steady run out and back, and then an easy run back to the gym, because we've got a race this tomorrow. We've got cross country, we've got Midland cross country champs tomorrow. But what I was going to mention is somebody on Strava, I can't remember who it was, so sorry for who actually asked, was asking about the difference between steady and tempo and easy runs and all of that lot, and the change in pace. And I've got to be honest, I still don't 100% know myself, but I know where in my head my different paces are. So obviously my easy pace, I would say, is between 8 and 8.5 minute miles for my easy runs. I'd say my steady pace was somewhere around 7.5 minutes per mile. And then I'd say my tempo is about marathon pace, which is about, well, my target marathon pace is 6:40 a mile. So I think, the difference between tempo and steady is in that slightly bit more effort than easy. It's not easy, so you can feel you're actually like running. Easy to me feels like you could go all day at that pace and you could have a full-on conversation and everything. Steady, I can still have a conversation, but you are pushing it a bit more.
I think what's difficult as well is if you haven't run. This is gonna sound like a flex now, but if you've run a marathon, then you'll know. But like, you know how like when you've run a marathon, you know what your marathon pace is essentially. You know what your PB is, and you can work out your paces either from your goal marathon pace or your current or actual marathon pace, because for some people there might be seconds in it, for some people there could be minutes in it, so it all depends, I think. So for example, for me, I've worked out for this 2024, for my targets, I'm at the moment, I'm not pushing hugely, so nothing is going to feel too taxing, I don't think so. And the good thing is as well about knowing your marathon pace is because you can work things out, and once you get it all on a piece of paper or all on your phone or whatever, oh, okay, well, that's my half marathon pace, and I ran a marathon at this, so, and I ran a 10k at this, and I ran a 5k at this, and this is my easy pace. So yeah, I put my steady pace in between my marathon effort and my easy effort. Pace, I should say, not effort. And I kind of know what it feels like when I'm actually out on the streets running easy. But having that validation from your watch telling you, for me, 6 minutes or 5:50 per k, which is, I don't know, is over nearly 10 minutes in it, 9.5 minutes maybe. I just know that's my easy pace. I mean, a lot of people would do it by heart rate, but we both don't really bother with heart rate, do we? So a lot of people can use zones and things like that. But I think steady running will still fall in your zone 2. For those of you that use zones, and I think for a lot of people, marathon, and this is the thing that no one really explains to you, and I didn't realize that marathon pace after a K is in zone 2. Marathon pace at kilometer 42 or mile 25 or 26 is like zone 5 for some people, because you'll look at your heart rate data across the 3 or 4 hours, however long you're running, and it will creep, it will drift, won't it?
Of course it will.
So that's why a lot of these metrics you need to take sometimes with a pinch of salt and then bring it. This is why running to effort, I think, kind of it seems to be the winner for so many people, because that's, you could say that's the one constant, the one thing that you know how it feels. But then again, you could say that, you know, what feels easy, you know, what does an easy pace feel like after 25 mile in a marathon? So yeah, I'm talking in circles here because it's horses for courses, isn't it? But
yeah, but that's also why you should be a bit more lenient on your marathon pace and not think it's quicker than it actually is, because that effort is going to be so much harder in the second half of the marathon, even though you're running the same pace. So there are so many people that go out far too quick and blow up in the second half because they've not taken into consideration that sustained effort, although it's the same pace, it's going to get harder and harder.
Yeah, and I remember learning that for the first time when I did my marathon. Because I remember my first one, when I did Brighton, because I remember getting to the halfway point and I'd run it at pretty much half marathon pace. And I didn't realise what that really meant. I'd set myself a goal of hitting the halfway target about 1:58 or 2 hours. And my half marathon pace at the time was a bit faster than that, but it didn't feel that much faster. But the danger and the trap you fall in, isn't it, is that when you look at your pace per mile, per mile or per kilometre, when you add and subtract a few seconds from that, it doesn't feel much at all. But when they all add up, we're talking minutes, we're talking 10, 20 minutes potentially. And how many stories have we ever heard? I mean, this has happened to me, where you've done, you know, you've gone out, let's just say at a 3-hour marathon pace, got to 20 mile, and this has never happened to me, but you've ended up finishing in 3:50 because you've had to walk the last 6 mile, or you've had to, you know, because that happens to so many people, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's so difficult to just assume you can run marathon pace as easily as you can in mile 1 as you can at mile 26. That's where other things come into play, isn't it?
Yeah, well, exactly, because like 1 second per K slower is 42, 43 seconds over the marathon. So if you say 10 seconds per K slower, that's not that much of a difference.
It doesn't
but
feel that much at the time.
Yeah, but it's like, what's that, 7 or 8 minutes?
Yeah.
So it's a big old chunk.
Yeah, absolutely. But well, I'm glad to hear that you were back out with the club.
No, it's been really good. I've really enjoyed running with them again and getting back into it. So hopefully I'll be able to keep going this week and start doing some sessions, hopefully.
Is that the first question everyone's been asking you? What are you going for in Manchester? What are you going for? Is that like what everyone's...
That is always the question, isn't it? When you say you're doing a specific marathon, they always go, "What are you going for?" So I think my target's just going to be exactly the same as it was. Although my target last year was to break 3 hours, but I went out at 2:55 pace, and I think that's going to be my target this year, is 2:55 pace, and see what happens.
And didn't you say that you pretty much held it until the cramp came at 21 or 22?
So I still felt, energy wise, I felt I could still keep that pace. My legs just didn't want to work, which is really, that's the most important part.
So a shout out, by the way, to everyone that's doing Manchester, which will be a lot of people, by the way.
Yes,
didn't we say that there's going to be 20,000 or more people doing it?
I think there's more than that this year. So if anybody is there, come and say hello if you see me, definitely.
Yeah, but like, where we differ, me and you, is that you don't think Altrincham's a hill, and I very much do. And there are a lot of people who are running Manchester for the first time. So from my point of view, I'd never run it, and I'd only heard stories and tales of old about Altrincham and this blooming, as if you're running into Mordor or something. But it's not that bad. Of course, it's not that bad. But if you imagine that you have pretty much run pan flat, you've been given the gift of flatness for 15 odd mile, haven't you? And if your legs at that time are not ready for it, and your heart and your breathing and your mind, everything, if you're not ready for it, then it's gonna sucker punch you badly.
Oh,
It
definitely,
hit it.
yes.
Altrincham did punch me in the gut, man, and I just couldn't really recover. It is worth paying a bit of respect to that hill, but at the same time, I know what you'll say it's just a hill, get over it. But it's like, I don't think that you should. I saw that written on someone's club T-shirt once. I thought it was brilliant. I like that. It's just a hill, get over it. But yeah, I think Altrincham should be respected and maybe planned for, because I remember I remember the rise started over like a flyover or over
over a bridge.
Yeah. And I remember thinking, oh, this isn't too bad, because it only lasted. I could see, because you obviously see the army of runners ahead of you. I remember thinking, oh, this is probably 800 meters most. But then you get into the village, or whatever you'd call Altrincham, and I remember it sort of went cranked up a gear, and we sort of went up a few lanes.
Zigzagged up.
Followed it round. And I remember thinking, I'm struggling here. And then I remember having a worry at the top of the plateau of Altrincham, thinking, I think I might have overcooked it there up that hill.
Yeah.
I think, because you know what it's like, you've run along by 10, 15, 20K. Are we at 20K yet? Yeah, we are. We're well over half marathon, aren't we? At Altrincham. You've run with a lot of people, and if you've started with them, you've been almost pacing each other, and there's that guy with a red T-shirt, or that's the guy with whatever. And if someone goes for it, you want to go with them. And I understand that mentality, because that's what we do, isn't it? We just want to keep going, and we don't want to lose position in the race. But it's not necessarily always a good idea, because you don't know that guy in the red T-shirt. He could be Kilian Jornet. He could be just a seasoned ultra marathoner who's just coming out for an easy run. So it's not always the best idea to follow the person in front of you and do exactly what they do, especially when you're doing things like hills. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is, that hill at Altrincham, let us know in the comments. Is it a hill? Is it not a hill? Should people be afraid of it or not? What I'm saying is, you'll notice it.
Yeah. Anybody who has run Manchester, what did you think of that? The hill. See,
the hill.
Yeah, because of where I run every Sunday, I didn't see it particularly as a hill. Yes, it probably is a hill, but compared to the hills that I'm used to running,
it's a hill.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Look at the data on your. It's a hill. Come on.
It is a hill. It is up. It goes up, so it's a hill. Yes.
Yeah.
But compared to the type of hills I normally run, like if, for instance, we both run Droitwich half, and that was hilly. So compared to those hills, Altrincham was nothing really.
It was weird, because I remember finishing that race, and I remember sort of arrogantly thinking, well, if I've done well here, I'm going to smash this hill. But I hadn't even run as far as Altrincham to get to the hill.
Exactly.
Yet. So I think the key is, and this is even though the marathon I'm choosing to do, which is at the end of April, which is Newport, which apparently is really, really quite flat, I'm still going to do hill training, and I'm still going to throw in a couple of, I don't know how far I'm going to run. I don't know if I'm going to do 23 milers or just stick at 20. I'll definitely want to get into the 20s a few times during this block, but I will put a few hills in towards the end of the session, because I think sometimes when you do your training sessions, you want to try and feel like what it feels like to finish strong. But as we all know, or if you haven't run a marathon, you'll know that it's a 20-mile warm-up and then the hardest 10K of your life.
Yep.
Which is, and it's taken me a few marathons to realize that, but it really is that, because you can get to 20 miles feeling right as rain, but then that last 10K,
when the wheels fall off,
and you can see, I know it sounds like, if you've done a marathon, you'll know what I mean. But like, you can see why apparently less than or only 1% of the world's population have done one, because it's hard. It's not easy.
No, it is.
I mean, you can see why you see so many people late on the side of the road. Yeah. So,
but hills are always good no matter what, because basically hills are like strength training.
Yeah.
You're building up strength in your not only your legs and like your running, but your cardio as well. You are building up strength in everything. So hills are good training no matter what running you're doing. Even if you were a track runner and just ran around in circles all the time, still want to do hills.
Yeah, because they will come back to bite you, won't they? Because it's like a different type of discipline, isn't it? It's I think what I thought would happen at Altrincham didn't happen. I thought I can just struggle. I can just about wing this, because you can't wing a marathon. And I've learned that. I thought if I can just get myself up to Altrincham, if I can just get myself on top of that hill, I can coast down it and pick up where I left off, pick up how I was feeling before. But what happened to me and my inexperience was, I think I know we don't really go too in depth with the old thresholds and heart rates and stuff, but I think my heart rate went so high, it went above sort of that anaerobic threshold. It was in the 180s, I think, by the time I was at 80 mile at the top of Altrincham. And I expected it to just come down, sit back at 160, and I could just lock back into marathon pace, which is what I was doing for the first half marathon and beyond. And it just didn't happen. It just got harder and harder from then. And you'll hear so many people on the start line talk about the hill. I remember being in the starting pen and someone even said, "There's a hill. Don't go too hard up it if it's your first marathon, or if you haven't done many marathons, or if it's your first time here, or whatever your goal is. Just remember, there's this tricky section which catches a lot of people out, which is basically the way to think about it." But I don't want to be the one who everyone holds accountable when everyone's doing 25-minute miles to get there and they find out that it was easy, and then they, what I'm saying is, respect it, know it's there, just put the work in, put the training in beforehand, maybe do some good hill training towards the end of your long runs so you can prepare for it, because this hill is quite unique, isn't it? There's almost no profile, there's no elevation before that, then all of a sudden you just get gazumped by this hill. So everything feels like it's going really well, and then all of a sudden it's not. So don't be like me, and don't blame Altrincham for the way that it went, because it's not Altrincham's fault. It's your fault if you don't plan and prepare for it.
I will say though, it's a great course. That's one of the reasons I'm going back. Number one, the atmosphere at Manchester, and number two, the course is a great course.
There were very few quiet spots, as I remember. Like everywhere you turn, Altrincham, as I remember, was probably the best. Well, apart from the start and finish, was probably the best supported section, and that's just when you need. That's just when you need the proverbial arm around the shoulder. That's when you need the crowd shouting your name. And in Manchester, I think it's unlike London. I think you've got your name on your bib, haven't you? You do.
Yes.
So people will shout your name, and people, and Altrincham was a really well supported part of the course. So I really did. Yeah, I did look back at Altrincham thinking, actually, no, I wish I'd have not spoiled it for myself and really enjoyed Altrincham more than I did, because I was grimacing quite a bit running through Altrincham. But if I did it again, bit of Rod Stewart mentality. I wish that I knew what I knew. I wish that I knew then what I know now.
Yeah. You saying about names on bibs as well. That takes me back to when I first did London. And I printed my name across my T-shirt because it wasn't on the number. Because I noticed loads of people did that. And it's so confusing towards the end when you're in a world of pain. You're not sure where you are. You're trying your hardest just to put one foot in front of the other. And then someone shouts your name and goes, "Come on, Brett, you can do this." And you're like, who are you? How do you know my name? What is going on?
Because you've run past them before you've realised that someone shouted your name. You think, who's that? It is a confusing thing, isn't it?
But brilliant at the same time, because that support does get you through at the end. So although it is a strange old feeling, I would always recommend getting your name on either your bib or your vest or your T-shirt, and just make sure that people know that they can shout and spur you on at the times when you need it.
I also don't know who needs to hear this as well, and I don't know if you found the same, but I remember at the start of Manchester was probably the best organised mass event I've ever done. I mean, that's fair enough. I haven't done one of the big ones. I've done the Great North Run. It's better than that. But Manchester was just, it was almost seamless. It was almost flawless, like the
Yeah,
way everything was so well managed. So if you're a worrier, which most of us are before a race, the last thing you need is, oh, I can't find baggage or I can't find whatever. I remember thinking the signage was brilliant. There aren't 100,000 different pens to be in. There's only about 4 or 5, as I remember, like colours on your bib. And I just remember thinking, this is as good as I'll feel getting on a start line for a race of this magnitude, if you know what I mean. So yeah, for those people that are maybe a little bit of overthinkers or worriers, or just I hope this is the same for next year, for 2024. It's a good race. It's a well organized race, very well organized race. Yeah,
definitely. So now that we've got through that, and we've got to a point where I can look down at some notes that I've made, there were a few comments on our, well, actually, I say a few comments, there was loads of comments on our previous videos on YouTube. And I've got to say thank you to every single person that has interacted with this from the last 2 episodes, because it's really nice getting some feedback, and there's some really lovely words been said.
Yeah,
well typed.
We just thought it would be our mums who'll be watching this. So yeah, the people have said, they've listened to. I think for me, one of the best compliments we have is I listen to this on my run.
Yes.
I really, really like it when people are listening to us two waffling about running while they're out running. So fair play to those of you that are. Maybe it's on your commute or while you're getting some work done, but wherever you are listening to us, thank you very much.
Yeah, we really do appreciate listening or watching. But there was a few comments or questions where it possibly needs us to just come back to them. The first one was from Bob Kilminster, which I guess is Bobby K, an old friend from when I used to be in bands back in the day. And he asked about cross country, and he said he'd love to try and get into cross country, but he's not a member of a club. So do we know of any open cross country races? And I'm not sure I do. The only reason I know about cross country is because I joined a club. And I think all open races that anybody can enter that would even be close to cross country are normally trail, and there are sections of tarmac or concrete or stony bits where you wouldn't be able to wear cross country spikes and stuff. So I don't know. I possibly need to have a look, don't I, and see if I can find out, or ask some questions and see if I can find an answer to that. But do you know of any races?
No, I mean, I kind of wonder why that is. I wonder if that's to protect the sanctity of club running cross country, to make it almost feel exclusive to club runners. Maybe that's the reason why it's never really been touched by event organisers, because they know it's a bit of a faux pas, if you know what I mean. So I don't know, maybe that's what it is. But I think what I would say is that I'm not in a club, so what do I know? But I think with clubs, there's no obligation to do either the group runs, the track sessions, the meetups. You can just do cross country, can't you?
Yeah. There's no obligation to do anything. If you pay your fees at the start of the year and you're a member of the club, you're a member of the club. You can do whatever you need. But one of the perks is, like, the club races, so the league races are free to enter. So if you're a member of a club, you get to run those races for free because you've paid for them in your club fees. The only ones you have to pay for are so the Midlands that I'm doing on tomorrow. I've had to pay entry fee for that, and the Nationals, you have to pay entry fee for that, and the county, you have to pay entry fee for that. But when I say entry fee, it's not like a race entry, an organised event where it's about 30 or 40 quid to enter now. It's like, I think I paid £7 to enter the Midlands or something like that. Amazing. So it's hardly anything. So it's well worth it. So if anybody is thinking of doing cross country, yeah, I would definitely look into your local club and just see what the fees are and what you actually get for that, because we get use of the track and the sessions and everything all included in our club fee. I think it's great value for money.
Yeah, fair play.
But yeah, so second one that I saw was one from Kieran Turner, and he
the K dog,
and he mentioned that he started running to heart rate now, but he uses a heart rate strap, so it's much more accurate. And he's recently had a lactate threshold test done, so he knows where his actual zones are. And he did a race recently and worked to heart rate. And he said if he'd have been working to pace, he's not sure he would have got through the hills and all the sections that were harder if he'd have run to the pace he thought he could have run. And he said the only point he managed to go into, like, over threshold and into that red zone was when he saw that a PB was on at the end, so he could push that last little bit. But he said he wouldn't have been able to do that if he didn't run the rest of the race to heart zone. So that's quite interesting, seeing as we aren't running to heart rate, we're running to paces. Yeah,
so that's interesting, because I saw the if Kieran's on about the race, I think he's on about, which I think he did a 10 miler. I think it might have been in Canterbury or somewhere. Can't remember where it was. But I saw the elevation profile of it, and it looked like the asteroid from Armageddon. It was like that. How about that for a cultural reference? I'm pleased with that. What a film, by the way.
Don't want to miss a thing.
One of my favourite films of all time. And Kieran's the profile looked really, really difficult. So fair play for running to heart rate, because you could have been in the early stages of the race, and if you've run up a hill, start straight away, you will have had to psychologically and physically pull back to stop yourself going off too fast, because you're looking at your heart rate. So that would have taken some serious discipline, because most of us would ignore the fact that you're running against gravity and you're running up a hill, and you'll just look at your watch and you'll be like, well, if that watch says X per mile or per K, then that's what I should be doing. And you're ignoring the fact that you're literally running up, like we've said earlier, like a vertical cliff face. But no, I saw the elevation profile of his race. I know some spicy and tasty hills in there. So yeah, fair play, K-Dog. Good man.
Yeah. Congratulations for getting that PB, definitely. And the third one I saw was an answer to our question from last pod. And
what did we ask?
We asked, would you prefer a T-shirt or a medal from a race? And Gary Manders answered. He said 100% T-shirt, because he's not interested at all in participation medals. Medals should only be for the top three. How do you feel about that?
Well, I suppose in the Olympics, there's only three. But thinking about it, I heard somebody say once that, I was listening to some talk sport or some outspoken journalist was saying, what's the point in the silver and the bronze medal? Because it's basically first loser and second loser. I was like, well, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Yeah, I understand the old participation thing. But I just like having something to literally hold straight away. That kind of, I know it's only a chunk of metal or something, most of the time wood, or some balsa wood nowadays, that's been pressed in someone's garage. But like, I don't know, I'm always a big fan of medals. I kind of like that sort of nostalgic looking back over the years. But I mean, I didn't do my first race until 2021. So I've only got 2.5 years worth of medals. Some people have got 20, 30, 40 years worth of medals. So I can understand why people are like, okay,
yeah, I can understand.
At least I can get some usage out of a T-shirt. And I hadn't really thought ahead to the next 10, 20 years. I'm going to amass probably, let's face it, 15, 20 medals a year. That's 100 medals in 5 years. That's a
Yeah,
lot of metal to hang on your wall, isn't it? So
it is.
yeah, I
But
do get it. I do get it. But while I'm kind of at my stage of running, the medal for me is mega important. I really, really like having that thing to hang on the wall. And when you put
yeah,
it around your neck, you feel really proud. And
yeah, I
yeah,
like the souvenir part of it. It is a definite souvenir of that moment, that time, that effort that you put into that race
yeah.
is all there in that little medal. Yeah,
I
I
think
like that.
I would,
It's
I think I would feel better if t-shirts were of a really quite good standard. So the one I wear quite a lot is the Amsterdam one. Now that's really, really good. You'd be proud of this as a screen printer. I think the Amsterdam t-shirt for finishing is, which you get before you get at the expo, by the way, whether you finish it or not, you get a t-shirt. This says I finished. I Amsterdam, whatever that means. Um, and it's a really good quality t-shirt. But the ones I really dislike are the ones where there's something huge screen printed. We're talking like this big. It's full of some
mhm.
sponsorship for a skip hire, and on the back something equally nonsensical. And they're exactly the hot spots that you sweat. And the feeling of a really badly heat pressed logo on your back in a rubbish t-shirt, not the biggest fan. But I'd imagine the London t-shirt, I don't know, the big major marathons and some of the bigger races. Yeah, you do get a really good commemorative t-shirt. So I just wish that people would make better t-shirts. Let's get Obi-Wan brand the contract for all these races.
Yeah.
It'll
Um,
sort us all out.
see that is one of the things about finishers t-shirts. Normally, the print on the front is really big, and the problem with printed areas on a running t-shirt is if it gets anywhere close to where your nipples are, um, you're not going to have any nipples by the end of a long run.
Way to the danger zone, basically, isn't it? Because you know you're
Yeah,
going to look like, yeah, they're going to look like, yeah, they're not going to look like a pretty picture. But
yeah.
I've had
So
that a few times with, yeah.
yeah, when I'm printing like tees for running and stuff, I always make sure that it's the print is nowhere near that zone where it's going to rub and cause problems.
Mm, yeah. Well,
But
yeah, fair enough. That's fair enough, Gary. I think each to their own, as they say.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
definitely.
I think there's a big argument for that, especially environmentally as well, because t-shirts
Yeah,
can be recycled. You can wear a t-shirt probably for a long, long time. A lot of mine, like my York t-shirt, which is the same, which is basically what I just described. I I won't wear that because I can't sweat in it because it just feels horrible. But I sleep in it. I
yeah,
don't know how I work. I don't know how I work that out because I don't know. I've just got used to sleeping in it, but I don't really want to work out in it, if you know what I mean.
yeah,
But
yeah,
some t-shirts I generally just wear around the house or something like that, or use as PJs. So yeah,
yeah,
that's what I do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Right.
Shall we?
So
I was going to say, shall we talk about where we went last
that's
Sunday?
that's exactly what I was just about to say as well.
Yeah, on our
Yeah,
little
a
venture
little
over to the
day out.
NEC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, you had a rest day. You cheated. You decided to have a rest day on the Sunday. I actually got out mega early, earlier than I ever get out normally. And went and yeah, I did my Sunday long run in the dark. Started off and watched the sunrise as I was running, which was actually really nice. But
That's good.
yeah, because I knew I needed to be somewhere, my easy slash steady run ended up just being steady throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
I ended up running like 7:30 miles for the whole 13 miles. But
Because you've got one eye on the clock, haven't you? Thinking I've got to get that train to the New Street at nine
exactly
o'clock,
that.
and it's yeah. Yeah, well,
But
fair
yeah,
play. Because I mean, you were saying you were going to blooming run there from Redditch, weren't you?
I was very tempted because, yeah, because I needed to do my Sunday long run. I was very tempted to run to the NEC to the show and then get the train back. But then when I looked at the distance for walking, following like a walking route, it was 18 mile. So I
You
thought
would
that was a
you
bit
would
too far.
you would have had to run on the M42 and get off at what is it, Junction 4 or whatever it is.
see,
Get off at the
that
A42.
would have been the right distance, but I don't think that would have been very safe.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe run on the motorways at night. Please don't run on the motorways at night. Yeah. So I would say that's actually that's just reminded me of, that's one of my favourite ways to do a long run in marathon training, a point to point. I love, like, for example, sometimes I've run to, there's a town near me called Pershore. I've run there a few times. If you just look on the map, like, if you see somewhere that's 15 mile away and it's somewhere you drive all the time, so you probably know those roads. And like most of us, when we're motorists, I've got one eye on the road and one eye looking to see if there's a pavement. Can I run that route next week? That's what I'm doing. So
yeah.
And no, the A46, by the way, to Evesham doesn't have one. So I actually have run home from Evesham before, and that's about 19 miles. But yeah, that's one of my favourite things to do on long runs, because it really just gives you a sense of purpose, bit of adventure. You feel it's different than a circular or definitely an out and back. Out and backs are probably the worst, aren't they? Unless you're running somewhere nice. Out and backs can be a bit tedious sometimes, can't they?
Well, I think worse than that are loops, where you've got a couple of mile loop.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Especially if the loop goes past your house and you know you've got to go out and do another loop, but you're about to pass your front door.
That's the ultimate test of strength and like stamina, isn't it? If you can just get past your house.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know one thing I've never done, by the way? Sorry, I've got a bit of a motor mouth because I'm on the old Minervois today. Nice little drop list, by the way. So one thing I've decided not to do. I said to myself last year, we just knock alcohol on the head. This time, so I just get pissed every night. No, this time I've decided to just eat what I want. Just try and be sensible, because I'm a big sort of, sometimes I give into temptation so easily. So if I say, right, no alcohol, I'll just binge that thing.
Yeah.
And, but instead of just having like a glass of wine every, I don't know, 5 days or a week or whatever. So yeah, nice little Languedoc Minervois today from the south of France. Yeah, some oaky notes, I think. So yeah, quite like it. God, what I was going to say now. I was thinking about red wine. Do you know why I know about red wine? Because when I was when I was an actor, because I trained as an actor many years ago, I moved to London like most actors would, and of course I didn't get any acting work, and I had to work to pay the bills, and I got a job in a call centre. But I used to say Canary Wharf to make myself feel better, but it wasn't Canary Wharf. It was like a mud chute. It was somewhere like near in the Docklands. It was not the nicest place. And
it's such a strange name for a place as well. That is down in London.
I know. Yeah. And I worked in this call centre selling wine for a company called Laithwaites. And if there's one good thing to come out of it, I learned loads about wine. And to this day, wine is almost like a hobby of mine. I mean, probably sounded a bit like George Best there, but like I really genuinely enjoy, tasting wine. I think it's just an
is that where your ruddy complexion comes from?
I think so. So yes, I am big fan of El Vino.
Nice. So, what's your favourite? What's your favourite tipple?
Well, probably I change quite often. I'm actually a big fan of Portuguese red, because you can almost always smell notes of like licorice and chocolate. Portuguese wine.
Okay,
so
nice.
Big fan of Portuguese wine. Italian as well. I had a nice bottle of Barolo on my 30th birthday when we went to Italy for my 30th, and that was like £100 a bottle, something like that. It's ridiculous. It tasted the same, but I just thought, I'm in Italy, we're gonna have a nice bottle. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Italian and older world wines, so less of the American stuff and more of the European stuff. So anyway, let's get back to running before I get too pissed.
Let's get back to the running show. So yeah, I did my long run in the morning, then jumped on the train and met you at New Street, met you and Sam at New Street. You jumped on the train from where you were as well. And then we found our way to the NEC via Birmingham International. And it was a pretty good day. I will say, I think the running show this year wasn't quite as good as last year. I think it was a bit smaller.
Was it?
But I still enjoyed it. I still think it was definitely worth a trip and a day out there. What were the highlights for you?
Well, first of all, my first observation was, or when I think back to it, I'd say a good 60% of the show was probably nutrition. And I thought it was going to be 90% trainers, shoes, and running kit. And there was probably, apart from the big brands, there were only a couple of stands there. And by the way, and you made a good point, I was like, where's the Nike stand? Because everyone else is it. Well, not everyone else. There was a few notable absences. No New Balance, no Under Armour. But I was like, where's the Nike stand? And you were like, why would they waste their time doing this? They don't need to have a stand.
No, they don't need to advertise. Everyone runs in Nike. Well, I don't. I don't run in Nike. I've never tried a pair of Nike shoes.
How have you made it to your sort of experience in running and never put a pair of Nike shoes on your feet?
Because I've only ever run in Adidas. I've never tried any brand other than Adidas.
That is incredible loyalty. Incredible. I wonder if there's any other running shoe loyalists out there. In particular, actually, Adidas loyalists.
Yeah, that's a point. Actually, that could be another question as well. What is your brand of choice? If you could only run in one brand of shoe for the rest of your running life, what would that brand be? What would yours be?
Question. Well, again, a bit like the old vino, I seem to just chop and change, because when you told me, by the way, mate, there's some shoes called the Adidas Takumi Sens that I think you should have a go. I bought them, and I think they've kind of changed the way I think about super shoes, because I've got the Vaporflies like everyone else has. That especially people that start running, we think, oh, what's everyone else running? And I'll get a pair of them as well. And the majority of people have got the Vaporflies, so I bought some. Really good shoes, but they're not very comfortable. I'll be honest, I don't think they're very comfortable. And
what is it about them that isn't comfortable?
I find I get repeated, I don't know if it's the shape of my feet, but my toes really suffer on long runs from those Vaporflies. And I don't know why. It's like the knuckle part of my toes that really seems to be sore. So I don't know, because they're not small, and I don't think they're too big. I don't know, but the shorter distance for the Vaporflies I find really good. But the marathon, but I've done. I bought the Adidas Pro 3s, the Adidas Adidas Pro 3s, and they're going to 99.9% chance of being my Newport Marathon shoe.
Nice.
And they feel like they've got a smoother ride, I would say. Their Vaporflies, when I put them side by side, they feel narrower and they feel way less stable. The Adidas Pro 3s have got this lovely roll through, I don't know what the tech is. You'll probably obviously know it a lot better than I would, being an Adidas fanboy. But I don't really know why I prefer those Adidas Pro 3s, but the Adidas Pro 3s, but I do. And I'm going to wear them for Newport very, very, very probably. But yeah, I in answer to your question, I don't know. At this point in time, purely for brand, what's the word? The feel of how these shoes make me feel. It probably would be Nike, probably, because I've got their trail shoes, I've got their easy shoes, I've got their racing shoes, and they're the shoes that I've run in the most. So I'd probably, unfortunately, have to say Nike.
Yeah.
But I don't say they're my favorite brand, but yeah, it's a funny one.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question for you though.
Go on then.
If there would be a brand to kind of turn your head, what would that brand be? Would there be a shoe or a brand that you could ever jump ship to?
I don't know. I don't. I don't know why, but the Nike shoes have never like drawn me in. There's never been a
Yeah.
point where I've gone, I really want to try those, and I don't know what that is, and I don't know why that is.
Mm.
But I've always looked at the Vaporflies and the Alpha Flies and thought, yeah, they look good, but it's not something that's really making me want to have a go. But one, and I think this is purely on looks, one shoe that I've seen recently, which is being released at the start of Feb, I think, is the New Balance SC Elite
I've seen.
and just the looks of it. Oh,
Yeah, I've
so
seen
good.
that. They look nice. They look really sexy.
Yeah, the geometric like pattern shape of the midsole, just that's me. I was like, yes, that's cool. But would I buy one? I don't know. I don't think I would. I'm so comfortable in Adidas shoes. I know they work, and with shoes being so expensive now, like a pair of super shoes, you're looking at 250 quid. I'm not sure I can afford to spend 250 quid to try something out and then not get on with it. I know every Adidas shoe I've ever run in, I've really enjoyed. And I know they fit my feet. I know I'm comfortable running in them. So I don't want to deviate from that and waste money.
I think my limit is probably 150 quid. I think. I don't think I've ever spent more than that on a pair of shoes. So I think that would be my limit. But I mean, what are these new Vapor Alpha Fly 3s? Are 285, are they?
Yeah, something like that.
That's mega money, isn't it? But I mean, if it gets you a PB, or if people say it was definitely the shoes that got me the PB, then it's money well spent, isn't it?
Well, exactly. So, and then you can divide the price between the miles as well. So if they're 260 quid, that's a tenner a mile. Would you pay a tenner per mile for a PB?
Yeah, probably would, to be fair. Yeah, and you don't have to do any training as well. You just turn up on the day and you're guaranteed a PB.
Yeah, because that's how good these shoes are now. Yeah, you don't have to put any training in. It's all in the shoes.
£10 a mile if you wear them once. That's crazy, isn't it?
I know.
Yeah.
Well, that's the crazy thing of those Adidas
Evos.
Man, because they were what? Were they £400?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and they said they were good for some familiarization. So training runs, a couple of training runs to get used to them, and then they were good for one race, one marathon. So really, you're looking at maximum 50 mile in them.
Is that because the outsole will just wear really quickly?
Well, I guarantee you could use them for 450, 500 mile like you do every other pair of shoe. But Adidas said for them to be at their premium, like maximum point of usage, then it is one race. And I think that's partly down to the way they've made the midsole, because it's Light Strike Pro, but apparently when they make a normal Light Strike Pro midsole, like in the Adidas Pro 3, it's compressed into shape.
Right.
So it's a piece of foam that they then compress into the shape of the midsole. But on the Evo, it was just a block of foam that was cut to shape. So there was none of that compression. So you've got a bit more bounce and like squash to the midsole. So I guess after that one race, you've started to compress it a bit more. So it's lost that initial squash that it had.
Because I think world records were broken in that shoe, weren't they?
Yes, yeah.
Was it the women's Tiggs
Yeah, the women's marathon. Yeah, Tiggs Assefa. She knocked like 3 minutes off the world record, which is a bit crazy. And is it 100% believable? But at the same time, maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just mind blowing So yeah, and it can't be all down to the shoes, just
Yeah,
because shoes are that much better. It can't be 3 minutes better, can it?
yeah. Well, that is seismic shift, isn't it? That's
Yeah,
really, some external forces are at play there. Right? You've got to raise a couple of eyebrows there, because I don't know if that's, well, I don't know. That's another topic for another
yeah,
video, I guess,
yes,
isn't
it
it?
is.
But
That's for another day, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
back to the running show. We went off onto shoes like we always do as
yeah,
runners.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But what good purchases did you get from?
Well, amongst others, I was really pleased with two of my purchases. One of them was I bought 4 hats from the Varga stand,
Yeah,
and mega. They were such a cool brand to deal with. Like the people that we dealt with, it's really nice at these trade shows to see the people behind the brands. And the
yes,
guys at Varga were just so cool. They were
yeah,
exactly how you would imagine the Varga people to be. They were
yeah. They are a great bunch of people, aren't they?
just really sound people and just human. Do you know what I mean? They weren't salesmen.
Yeah,
They were just really nice people who know what they're talking
yeah,
about and make a good
and
product.
happy to just have a chat,
Yeah. No, not trying to sign
which
you
was
up or get
wicked.
you on the mailing list or whatever.
Yeah,
They were just really
exactly.
nice.
Yeah, and
And
I geeked out for a bit with one of the guys from Varga because he went into all the technical aspects of the fabrics and the makeup of the hats and everything. And obviously, being in the clothing industry myself, we had a bit of a geek off and a big long
yeah,
conversation about it. So that was really
well,
interesting to
well,
find out.
it's everything from the prints to what the material of the actual cap is made of, to the 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 angles of the peaks and what they're made of, and it's just so
Yeah,
much attention to detail with Varga, isn't it? And
yeah.
I think
That
once you see them up close, you understand a lot of care and attention has gone into this.
yeah, everything's been thought about. One of the things I always love about Varga caps is how short the peak is, because that's
Yeah.
one thing on running caps that are it's terrible. But like a long peak on a running cap's awful.
Well, it's an
And
aerodynamic thing, isn't it? I always take the
yeah,
piss out of myself for like wearing my hat on backwards, but if you've got your hat on forwards and it's a windy day, you might as well be wearing a parachute, or
yeah,
you might as well be wearing like a pair of wings on your head, because you feel like
yeah,
you're
and
going
then
to
it
take off.
blows off and flies behind you,
Yeah.
and yeah,
So you've got to stick it
well,
on backwards and look
yeah.
like you're in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that it's a bit like a cycling cap, how short the peak is, and that's
Yeah.
one of the great design features of a Varga cap is how short the peak is, and they've
Yeah.
actually patented it. How the shape of that peak is a
Have they?
patent to Varga. Yeah, so it's either a patent or a trademark of what they've
Yeah.
done. So yeah, fair play to them for that, because yeah, they've hit the nail on the head.
Well, I picked up a bit of everything. I picked up a bucket hat, a beanie, a cap, and one other thing. Can't remember what the other thing was. Oh yeah, a hat for Laura. So yeah,
Yes,
we're both really happy with what we picked with the hats we
yeah,
got. So yeah,
yeah.
mega happy with those
Yeah,
purchases.
I had purchase regrets. I bought the one hat and I should have bought the other colorway as well, but never mind.
Yeah, well, I bought I think that the hat you were looking at, I got the bucket hat version. I got the white, almost like a
Yeah,
cricket bucket hat looking. So that'll come in really handy for summer running. And yeah, these things are so lightweight, aren't they? But yeah, just on that subject, the other thing that I really like, which I'm holding up to the camera now, which I've just realised half of you be listening to this, is some Voom Pocket Rocket electro energy bars. So I'm looking for a new fueling system because I'm sick of these high five energy gels. I take 6 with me and I have 2 because, or I have 3. The third one, I just feel I'm going to be sick, and I just hate them, and I wish that I'd have thought of another fueling strategy. So tried these on the day, and I've tried one run with them, and they felt energized. So
yeah.
really happy with that.
I bought some of those as well, but I bought the ones with caffeine in because I'm a bit of a caffeine feed on my runs.
Yeah,
Because I can't get on with gels. I've always found that they didn't sit well in my stomach. So I've
yeah,
always used energy jellies, and
mm,
I use Power Bar Power Shots at the moment,
yeah,
which are cola flavor. So real nice flavor, one of my favorite flavors, and they've got caffeine in as well. But that Voom Nutrition, they're berry ones that have got caffeine in as well. I've thought,
Yeah.
you know, that's a really good idea. The fact it's a solid block, it's a bit like Kendall mint cake.
That's exactly this consistency. And I tried it at, because a worry as well is when you're training as well, is that let's say, for example, on your Sunday long runs, you're running easy. And for a lot of people, at easy pace and marathon pace are quite difficult. A marathon pace is quite a lot faster. So I would say train and take on your fuel at marathon pace, because on the day, you'll work out that it's actually a lot more difficult than you think it is in training.
Yeah. Trying to eat or take fuel on whilst you're running at pace, is quite a difficult thing to do, because you're trying to chew, especially if you have the jellies like me. You're trying to chew and breathe at the same time, which doesn't quite work. And it definitely needs some practice for sure.
Yeah,
but I'm looking forward to trying those out.
Yeah, and we also got some cis electrolyte things, didn't we?
Yes, and I bought some OTE ones as well. Some pineapple OTE electrolytes, which are tasty. Actually, I was going to bring this up. Have you seen the Woo's video on the running show? Shout out to the Woo, by the way, Will Fu, also known as the Woo on YouTube. So yeah, big shout out to him.
Are you going to talk about his Morton findings?
Yes. How interesting was that?
There's no electrolytes.
He's been digging deep on the Morton website to find all that information.
He's going to do an expose documentary, isn't he?
It's like a detective.
Yeah, exposing the world's biggest con men of gels and marathons.
But how interesting is it that Morton don't do an electrolyte product because they don't believe the science behind electrolytes?
It's brave, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Fair. I mean, I've never tried it. Have you tried Morton? I've never tried Morton.
No, I haven't tried Morton either. No,
I haven't got enough money, to be honest.
But it actually says on the website that electrolytes shouldn't be used in conjunction with Morton products. But I was under the impression that electrolytes were scientifically proven to rehydrate you, because you're losing electrolytes in your sweat when you sweat them out. So you need to replace to be able to rehydrate properly. So why Morton doesn't believe that, I'm not sure. It's a strange old one, but there's got to be something in it, because they're one of the biggest nutrition brands out there.
Yeah, you see that black packaging, you know instantly what it is.
Yeah.
So they must be onto something, and so many athletes use their stuff. Does Kipchoge use Morton? I think he does, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. Yeah, and that was one of the things that the Will found out was they said athletes like Kipchoge haven't asked for electrolyte products from Morton.
Yeah. Wow. So
interesting.
Yeah. Well, one day I will give it a try, I think. But no, we did have a good old time, didn't we?
Yeah.
At the running show.
Yeah, it was good fun. It was good fun. It was definitely worth a trip out there to go and see what was on offer. But yes, I will agree. It did seem like most of the show was nutrition or socks.
Oh God, the socks, the shoe socks. I can't believe how expensive those things are.
I know. Yeah,
35 quid, wasn't it, for the racing socks?
Well, I think they were £20 a pair, or 2 for 30. But you could go to the Start Fitness stand and get 3 pairs for a £5 of more mile ones. So I suppose yes, they look lovely, but are they that much better? I don't know. I've never tried them, so I can't say whether they're good or bad or anything like that. It's a costly game now, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is.
Looking good is a costly game.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's an expensive game. Bloody hell, 30 quid a pair of socks. But I've just realised the time, and I've obviously waffled on.
Wow,
I know. Wow. 1 hour 8 we've been recording for. I've got I think I'm going to try and make this a feature, but maybe I have to try and get this in half an hour quicker before
Okay.
Each, at the end of each episode. But let's call this Brett's end of the podcast trivia quiz at the end of the podcast. So I've got some running based. There'll be a different theme each week. 5 questions.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
Last week didn't really have a theme. It was just
Parkrun.
inaugural. Yeah, it was Parkrun, wasn't it? Right. So this week we're doing running brands and things associated with running brands. So
okay.
question 1.
Are the questions? Are the answers Adidas, 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 and Adidas? Because I'll be all right there.
There's one loosely related to Adidas.
Okay, cool.
It's not Adidas. Right, okay. Question 1. Not the start of the question you thought it was going to be. In 490 BC, what was the name of the it's related to brands. What was the name of the Athenian courier who ran from Marathon to Athens to declare a message of victory, according to legend, by crying the word Nike before collapsing and dying? Do you know the name of the legend?
I haven't got a clue what his name is. I just know that's where they got the idea for the marathon from, is that run was supposedly the marathon distance that he ran
He'd allegedly run about 300 miles before he set off. So, and as well, this geezer as well even dropped his, what did he? He dropped his weapons and all his clothes. He's just running naked to Athens.
And he didn't have any nutrition or electrolytes or anything on that journey.
No Mortons for him. But the answer
is exactly why he dropped dead when he got there.
That's exactly why he dropped dead. Yeah, should have had some electrolytes. The answer is Phidippides. That's after 2 glasses of wine as well. So yeah, right. So question 2, and bear in mind my Latin's not as good as it used to be. Anima sana in corpore sano is the acronym for ASICS or ASICS.
Oh, okay.
You're saying it wrong. But what does the Latin philosophy translate as?
Oh man, you've been diving deep into all of this.
I've been diving deep into Wikipedia, mate.
How am I ever supposed to know what that means unless I've read it somewhere before?
You might know this from advertising cover. Shall I put you out your misery? It means a sound mind in a sound body.
Oh, okay.
But the acronym is ASICS. Number 3. Here we go. Adi Adolf Dassler.
Yes.
You know that, yeah.
Adi Dassler. Yeah.
Yeah. Is the founder of Adidas, but he and his business partner / brother Rudolf Dassler went separate ways after the Second World War. After a dispute, pretend you didn't hear that. Rudolf created a sportswear brand called Rudolf Dassler. But how is it known today?
Or Puma, however you want to say it. But they fell out. So they started 2 different brands. They started a brand together, and then they had a bit of a falling out. So they went their separate ways. And
both members of the Nazi Party as well, I read today. So a little bit of a dark past there. But
Adi Dassler, Adi was short for Adolf.
Yeah, Adolf. Yeah, got it in the brackets. Yeah, I've even written brackets. Right. So question 4. You can see that my questions are wearing thin here because you text me saying, right, I'm just logging in. I was like, I've only done 3 questions. So these last 2 questions aren't the best. Okay. Which running shoe brand became the top selling brand in the US from 2011 to 2017? So it's not even the top selling brand at the moment.
In the US?
In the US.
You would say Nike, but I'm not sure that is the answer.
What's your final answer?
Because is it going to be a really left field answer, or is it a really obvious one?
I'd say you've heard of this brand, but maybe slightly more left field than the big brands.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go. Who should I go for?
They're an American company as well.
Yeah. I think I know this, but I can't think of the brand. I'm going to kick myself when you say it because it's on the tip of my tongue. It's a brand. No one who would, if you've thought about running, it wouldn't be the first brand that came to your mind.
Maybe. I've had a pair of this brand's shoes.
Okay. Let's go Reebok then.
Ooh, close. Brooks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Brooks had the 25% of the market share.
I can see why.
Yeah. Last question.
So therefore, I'm completely wrong, because if you think about running, most runners, Parkrun and Brooks being the sponsor, would instantly say Brooks.
Yeah, they're massive here, aren't they? So many people running Brooks. Apparently, I've heard the Hyperion Max are like the ultimate daily trainer, or really, really good.
Yeah, I've heard they're really good. Yeah,
I had the Adrenalines, and I really like them, but I never went back to them. So maybe one day, maybe go back to Brooks. But last question, question 5. Which sportswear brand first started out by only making children's shoes, founded in 1898?
I know that's a really good one. So they started making kids shoes, and that's all they made, and then they branched out into making sport
apparently
shoes
as well. Apparently they were relatively unknown until the 70s as well. Now they're a big player at the table.
And it's not one of the brands we've mentioned already?
No, we haven't said it today.
I am going to guess then. I don't think it is, but I'm going to guess New Balance.
The answer is Saucony.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So that's the end of Brett's end of the podcast quiz.
And once again, I've done terrible. I've got one answer right, and it's because it was Adidas.
I used to do a pub quiz when I was about 10, 15 years ago at my local pub, and I used to make at least one question in there impossible to get, because I would have no one getting full marks on my quiz. I used to get paid in beer. I remember now, I used to get paid 15 quid and as much beer as I could drink. And giving out the answers, I was smashed. And I was just like, this is my dream job. So
brilliant. Well, on that note, I have just heard my headphones make the noise that they are about to run out. So we need to
they're hitting the red line.
Exit. Yes, they are.
Your headphones are redlining.
Yeah.
Are you parkrunning tomorrow?
I'm not. No, I've got cross country. I've got Midlands champs. So yeah, you're parkrunning though, aren't you?
Yeah, hopefully going to do Worcester Pitchcroft tomorrow. So I'll have to see this red wine off soon, because I'll have to hit the water and try and recover.
And get them electrolytes down, yeah.
Get them electrolytes in, yeah, if they work.
Right, on that note, dude, it was great speaking with you again, and thank you very much to everyone for listening, and we will see you next time. Nice one, guys.
See you soon. Adios. Pro 3.